Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Buada in Nauru. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. This is not a typical video on my channel, although tomorrow's video is also going to be tablet only, but that aside, this is not really a typical video on my channel. It's a little more off the cuff, and that's because we're talking about Nauru. Nauru is one of my favorite countries to talk about. I started this channel so I could talk about Nauru. I knew I wanted to do ASMR content. I didn't know about what. One day I randomly researched Nauru, fell in love with its history, and then realized, oh, I could talk about geography. And I can talk about Nauru. So here we are today, talking about Nauru again. My favorite place to talk about. So, this is not scripted. This is totally just facts from my brain about Nauru that I'm talking about. Also, this isn't a typical tablet video because check this out, you guys. Most of this district is blurred out. I don't know why. I tried to research why, because usually there's a reason. This random area of Nauru is also blurred out. I don't know why. I've tried to work around it. Nothing works. The only thing I can do is I could set this to map, which is white, so just a warning that it's about to get kind of bright. The map feature where you can kind of see what this area looks like, but not really. Let me set it back to nice dark Google Earth. There we go. So yeah, that's a thing that's going on. But we're actually going to start off by zooming out so you can see exactly where we are in the world. Nauru is not an easy place to find on the map because it is a very small island in the Pacific Ocean. So what I do when I try to find Nauru, which is quite often, believe it or not, I look for Vanuatu, which for whatever reason I can't find. There's the Cook Islands, Papua New Guinea, Solomons, Vanuatu. Oh my gosh. I look for Vanuatu, which is usually easy to find. I don't know why it wasn't popping up. Because it's easy to distinguish because it's in a V shape for Vanuatu. And then you just kind of have to look like from Vanuatu. And then you should find Nauru. You can see Australia's over here. New Zealand's way down there. You can see the Mariana Trench there. So on and so forth. Here in the Pacific. Also to point out that I always have to mention if it's a Pacific island is which part of the Pacific it's in, because there are 3 regions, and if you've seen my videos and you know them, you can say it along with me. It is Melanesia, Polynesia, and Micronesia. Melanesia is more down here. This culture is typically, it's called Melanesia because they have more melanin. They are extremely dark-skinned people, much more than the other parts of the Pacific. And they kind of have more of that stereotypical, like, headhunter, jungle kind of culture, if you know what I mean. Very stereotypical. They're not like that anymore, but kind of like that. Whereas Polynesia over here is more like luau, tiki, volcano kind of culture, where we have French Polynesia, Hawaii is part of Polynesia, Samoa, Fiji, so on and so forth. And then we have Micronesia. You can see the Federated States of Micronesia up here. Kind of like in the same way that the United States of America is in North America, States of Micronesia is within Micronesia. I hope that makes sense. And Micronesia is kind of like the whatever part of the Pacific. It's the etc. Most of these islands were claimed by the United States after World War II and have just a more American, westernized culture to them. And it's like they don't really have that kind of Pacific identity as much as Polynesian and Melanesian islands. It is there, just not as in the forefront of their culture today. And that's where we find little Nauru. Nauru is the world's smallest republic. The Vatican is technically the smallest country. Nauru is a bit bigger, but the Vatican isn't a republic. They don't have elections. I guess the conclave is kind of like an election, but it's not a democratic one, is it? Whereas Nauru is. They have democratic elections too. So it's the world's smallest republic. Let's talk about, actually real quick, one other fact. You can see Yaren down here. There are no towns in Nauru. It's all one, it's just an island. So there are districts, there are areas, and Yaren is the area where the government buildings are. So they consider Yaren to be the capital, although there's no town, so there's technically no capital city in Nauru. That's the other interest. There's so many interesting facts, but that's another one. Buada is another really cool fact. It is the only district that is landlocked. Every other district has a shoreline here on the coast. And even though it's all blurred out, you can see right here the Buada Lagoon, which is the only non-ocean water, fresh water on Nauru. There are no other rivers. It's technically the only lake, although it's not really a lake. It's a lagoon, right? Let's see if maybe this basketball court, we can see some. Nope, no, okay. Maybe this chapel over here has a good view of the lake. Probably not. Nope, but it is cute, isn't it? So yeah, oh, here we go. The Buada National Park. Nope, it's just this picture. I mean, a fantastic picture, but it's not a picture of the national park, is it? That's a 10 out of 10 photo right there, but not of what we want to look at. So anyway, Buada Lagoon, you can see this name here, Arenebek, was its original name. It's kind of indigenous name. Buada means, oh, what is it? I forgot. It's like ghost jungle or something, ghost forest, which is a really cool name. And I think that name has stuck because this is the only part of Nauru that you can kind of see here that has some green to it. That there is some forested area here on Nauru. And it is only really around the lagoon. You can see all these homes here. There's some green there around all the houses there. Pretty neat spot. If you can't have a house near the coast, you can have a house near the lagoon, right? Now, let's see where to start with history. I guess we'll start with the Nauruan Civil War. So, Nauruan people are here living their lives, right? Just existing on the island. There's many different clans with their different areas around the island, hence all of these names come from that time period. The various European ships passing by, mainly British, German, and American ships pass by. They can dock here. It's not easy because this is a coralline island. And as you can see, there is just a ring of coral. You can really see it here around the island. So you can't really dock. Your ship will crash and sink. They've been constructing, you can see right here, trying to create a little port here by digging through all of this coral. But back then that was not around, so you would have to anchor offshore and bring little boats on. But it would be a nice little stopover point for trading ships, whaling ships, things like that. Now, if you wanted to trade with the Nauruans, they had lots of coconuts. You can trade those. Lots of other little islandy natural resources, fish and things like that they could trade with these ships. But what would these ships trade back? What would they possibly have that the islanders would want? Well, these ships traded them guns and alcohol, which caused a quick deterioration on the island. Here at the Buada Lagoon in the year 1878, there was a big wedding, and I'm sure that everyone on the island came to this wedding, right? It's not a very big island. You may as well come to the wedding. Alcohol was served. People got very drunk. There was a disagreement. A shot was fired. A tribal leader's son was shot and killed. I'm sure accidentally in a drunken haze. But in this culture, if you harmed a family member, they could harm you. But then you could also harm them back. And this kind of revenge culture took over, and it escalated. Did I say the year 1878? It escalated into a full-blown civil war that lasted for 10 years. There's even the story of a British ship that docked nearby. So they have, back then, what was known as beachcombers, which was essentially fugitives who were being sent to prison islands out here. If they would spot an island, they'd jump off their prison ship and swim to an island like Nauru and just live there and just become part of the population. This British ship docked outside, and this beachcomber swam toward that ship, asking for help because these people were crazy, massacring each other, constructing this amazing armor out of coconuts, and shooting each other. And that kind of sparked a peace movement that the Germans facilitated. The Germans were their main trading partner anyway. Not to mention Germany was a brand new country at the time, and they were looking to colonize things, because that was the cool thing to do if you were a European superpower, was to have colonies. Most places were already gobbled up. The Pacific Islands were not so much gobbled up, so the Germans were looking at them. They sent in missionaries to calm things down. They banned alcohol and guns on the island, and in exchange it became a German colony, a German protectorate in a sense. And that was the Nauruan Civil War that started here around this lagoon. Now you might be wondering, how come this is the only green part of the island? What am I talking about? It's a Pacific island. How is this the only green part? What's happening out here? Well, as you could see, this land is pretty much destroyed. It was combed down to the soil. This is all shrubs growing here. These aren't trees. These are things like breadfruit trees, coconut trees. This is just shrubbery. Combed down to the coral core of this island. And it's uninhabitable, as you can see. How did this happen? Well, I think it was the year 1900, but in the early 1900s, phosphate was discovered on this island, which is essentially fossilized bird poop from millions of years of seagulls coming here and pooping. But phosphate at the time was used to make fertilizer, and it was an incredibly rare and very valuable resource. So the Australians got in on it mainly, especially after World War I. The Australians went through all the Pacific Islands that Germany had claimed and snatched them away and got to keep them after World War I. So it was mainly an Australian enterprise that started mining here. Once Nauru gained independence, which they mainly did so that they could take over the phosphate industry, they went kind of ham and essentially scarred this island. So you zoom out, you can really see all of this gray is all just dug up, destroyed land all across the island here. And Nauru was almost completely destroyed. The only spot that was left untouched, besides like the beaches, was the Buada Lagoon. So that is why this is the only place where you can find just actual trees here in Nauru. Pretty sad history, but it also made Nauru incredibly rich. At one point, they were the richest country per capita. But due to bad investments, one of them being a West End, aka London, musical that flopped about Leonardo da Vinci. I'm not kidding. You see why I could talk about Nauru all day. All of that money is long gone. And Nauru did some pretty shady deals to try to make that money back. Their newest one that just launched earlier this year in 2025 was selling citizenship. It's not cheap, but you can buy citizenship to Nauru, and that money from the citizenship scheme, because they did this before in like the 90s, early 2000s, and they wound up selling citizenship to some incredibly unsavory characters. Think Russia, think Middle East people in the early 2000s that were causing conflicts, you know what I mean? Very shady people. Now, when they do this scheme, the money is being set aside for climate change relocation. If any damage occurs during a huge storm or tsunami or just rising sea levels, they have that money to relocate people or repair anything that's damaged from that. So that's a good thing, I suppose. Sad, but necessary at this day and age. So yeah, many different ways to try to recoup that loss. One industry that they tried to bring back in the 1960s was fishing here in the Buada Lagoon. There's only one species of native fish. I think it's called a milkfish. Never heard of it. But there used to be kind of a little fishing industry here back in the day, back before all of this nonsense I'm talking about. They tried to bring it back. They introduced a type of tilapia, which apparently the locals hated the taste of anyway, but this tilapia was destroying the ecosystem of the native fish. So they thought, well, this is a bad idea. Let's get rid of all of this tilapia. So they decided to poison the fish, which essentially poisoned the lagoon and made it unable to use at all. Bit of an environmental disaster, but very Nauru coded. So it took a while to get all of the poison out of the water. They introduced yet another fish to try to combat the other fish. It's kind of balanced out now at this point. I guess all the fish are just swimming around here together, but that fishing industry never sparked back up. So you can go fishing here. Buada Lagoon's kind of brackish a little bit, but it is technically fresh water, in a sense, in that a tiny lagoon on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean can be, right? Oh, you know what I forgot? World War II. How could I forget World War II? Japan invaded Nauru in World War II. And they did a lot to the island. They built this airstrip here, which is now the Nauru airport. But we also have this prison center, which of course is no longer a prison center. There are others in Nauru, but not this one. It's all overgrown now. It was an absolute tragedy what the Japanese did to the native Nauruans. Many had to flee the islands. The ones that did not or could not flee faced some pretty terrible fates. You can see some anti-aircraft guns over here. Don't think that's in Buada, but it's nearby. And yeah, this is all that's left of that time during the war in the Pacific front of World War II. Pretty eerie today, isn't it? Definitely get your tetanus shot before visiting that one, just in case. And I think that was all the facts that I could dig up about this corner of Nauru. There are lots of other facts, but like this over here is not in Buada. Same with this over here. This is another devious, shady money-making scheme from Nauru to take in refugees and immigrants fleeing to Australia and hold them here. It's pretty dark. Research that in your own time because it doesn't have to do with Buada Lagoon or anything. But very dark chapter in Nauru's history, and it was very recent. Let's see what these other slideshows can show us, if anything. Poor mama. Hiking trail here, I suppose. Grassy, shrubby. Chinese restaurant. I love Chinese food. Well, there we go. There's no pictures of Chinese restaurant Buada. How about the Boggy Lodge? Oh, here we go. Now I knew I found pictures somewhere of the lagoon. Voila, this is Buada Lagoon. It's very pretty, isn't it? It was not so pretty before. Look at all the coconuts. Coconuts, coconuts, coconuts. He's enjoying the coconuts. And this is one of the few places that you can pick fruit off of trees. One of the few places, the only place in Nauru where you can pick fresh fruit off the trees. The only place in Nauru that looks like this. This is what the entire island looked like once upon a time, all forested and thick. No longer looks like that, unfortunately. There we go. We finally found pictures of the lagoon. That's what I'm talking about. There's a store right here. What do you think they sell? Looks like waters. One of the other facts about Nauru is that it is the most obese country in the world per capita because there is no farmland, because this is the only place where you can get fresh fruit, fresh anything. Everything that they eat is imported mainly from Australia, and it's a lot of stuff like McDonald's. I guess Chinese food, I don't know. Sushi over there. There's not a lot of fresh things you can send over from Australia, so it's a lot of highly processed things. So many people are very overweight. Also, the highest population of diabetics live in Nauru. Another Nauru fact for you. I could talk about Nauru all day, guys. All day long. So yeah, that looks like it. Everything else is out of this district. I want to look at center of Nauru real quick, though. Do you think there's a good slideshow here? No, there isn't. Darn. But anyway, I suppose that's it for tonight. Unfortunately, we're not coming back to Nauru for a long time on this channel. I'm so sad. I love you, Nauru. We'll talk about you again someday, but it will be a very long time from now. So you can see all these other regions. I think this is the next one, which I'm not sure how to pronounce that. And this one, I suppose. It'll be a long time since I'm going in alphabetical order around the world. But it's wonderful to talk about Nauru any chance I get. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to link my Nauru playlist right up there. So you can watch all my other Nauru videos and hear me nerd out about Nauru nonstop. Because it's going to be a while before we talk about Nauru again. Very sad about it. Next in this channel, however, we're going to Burundi. And there are very few slideshows in this part of Burundi, so I'm going to read you a book to kind of make up for it so that it's not a 5-minute video. But I will say there is one really amazing slideshow, and it's in a national park. And you're not going to want to miss it. It's so pretty. It's so beautiful, so lush and green. Nothing like this. Much more green than Nauru. Most places are. So be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. Please give this video a thumbs up for Nauru, and let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I do hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational, and I hope that you have a good